Calls for sobriety is still ongoing and talks there. Tear gas Monday, it is the 27th of March 2023. And all leaders are asking President William Ruto and Azimio leader Raila Odinga to sit and come up with solutions to the problems and stop the grandstanding. 4, 6 and 7 is what is headlining the front page of the Daily, not the Standard this morning. And we have some bites here where we have Akelo Misori of Kupets. This is the Secretary General who's saying we open schools late this time and taking a day off class will mean we find another compressed calendar in our timetable to be able to cover what we are now losing. As teachers' representatives, we will not support this. And this is just one among the many leaders that have really castigated the demonstrations that are calling for talks and dialogue. And also, Raila is not throwing back. He's daring the IG to arrest him. Constitution gives Kenyans right to hold peaceful demonstrations. That is the law. And as a tough-talking Inspector General of Police yesterday warned that his officers will not spare anyone who participates in today's protest, as Azimio leader Raila Odinga dared the police to arrest him. Meanwhile, Interior Cabinet Secretary Kithure Kindiki has announced the government will push a new law to restrict demonstration. So we're expecting a new law. The hardening of positions only hurts Kenyans more. And this story continues on page 4 and 5 of Daily Nation. We just want to hear what the IG had to say yesterday and also the response from Raila Odinga as well. Up next.
Azimio protests expected to enter the second week with the planned Monday and Thursday protests. Inspector General of Police Japheth Koome has outlawed the anti-government protest organized by Azimio la Umoja leader Raila Odinga.
Mimi kama Inspector Generali hakuna maandamano nimeruhusu, mambo ya usalama hakuna kusungumuza. Hayo hatutakubali masungumuzo. Sitakubali masungumuzo.
Koome has reiterated that the planned Azimio demonstrations are illegal and urged Kenyans to go to work on Monday, saying it will be business as usual as police will be deployed to ensure law and order is maintained.
Tumesikia wengine wanasema sijui hata kesho wataleta vurugu jiji la Nairobi. Hakuna jambo kama hilo litafanyika. Tuko tayari kama kikosi cha polisi kuhakikisha kuna utulivu.
In a briefing to journalists on police preparedness on Sunday morning, Koome warned that anyone found breaching the law will face consequences regardless of his society status, insisting that the police will deal with anyone found with weapons to cause chaos. He said political issues should be handled through the appropriate political channels.
Hilo nataka kukuambia saa huu yeyote ako na huo mpango kesho kuleta vurugu kwa nchi yetu utakipata. Whichever level you are in the society, whichever status. Kesho siweki mtu kwa parado, yote nita arrest. Whoever you are, ni kurusha we quarantine, kurusha nyuma, uende jela, ufungwe milele.
A number of Azimio la Umoja hotspots such as Kisumu have been warned that lawlessness will not be tolerated.
These politicians crossed the line in Kisumu. Wakati walivamia a function ambayo ilikuwa ya CAK kuharibu mali, that is where they crossed the line. Tukasema we have been restraining ourselves. We cannot do that anymore.
Raila Odinga led the first mass action against the high cost of living last week, where a Maseno University student was killed and more than 200 people arrested in nationwide protests.
I'm ready. I'm the commander of the National Police Service. The buck stops with me. Don't start intimidating my junior officers.
At the same time, Azimio la Umoja Protest Planning Committee has insisted that the protests will continue as planned.
Hatujapigwa na tear gas miaka 10. Na sasa tunapigwa na tear gas ni kama ndio pakiti ya unga.
Lakini Uhuru alileta subsidy. Ndio bei ya unga ikaenda chini. Ruto alipoingia akatoa hii subsidy. How can you allow this?
Even though Nairobi City and other places across the country have witnessed peace since the last Monday protest, it seems that now Azimio la Umoja politicians are still insisting that on Monday they will continue with their planned protest.
Did you see our supermarket? Raided? Somebody lost 20 million kwa sababu ya maandamano ya kutafuta server. Server ilikuwa kwa supermarket.
At the same time, Interior CS Kithure Kindiki has announced government's 10 proposals to amend Public Order Act following Azimio's planned mass action. Kindiki warning that the government will not tolerate chaotic and economically disruptive protests, even though he observed that protesters have a right to peaceful demonstrations. KTN News, Nairobi.
Good hilarious questions there from the IG. Sava ilikuwa kwa supermarket. Then our legislators will tell us if the server is in the supermarket. But let's just get a rejoinder there from Raila Odinga, and who is insisting he's not rolling back, he's going full steam ahead with the demonstrations today.
The Azimio la Umoja leaders told off Police Inspector General Japhet Koome over his decree that the planned protests by the Azimio la Umoja are illegal, daring him to arrest them.
Koome, wewe koma. Usilete fujo. Usilete vurugu. Unasema ati utaweza kushika kila mtu. Mimi niko tayari. Nitakuwa kwenye mstari ya mbele. Bwana Koome, hapana tuma askari, njoo wewe mwenyewe tuonane na wewe.
Kesho umesema unaweza kutuweka pingu sisi viongozi. Njoo uniweke pingu.
The leaders who were speaking after a church service at the Jesus Teaching Ministry in Nairobi, led by Azimio boss Raila Odinga, questioned the independence of the police, arguing that they have compiled with the law, including their previous demands of notifying the police of the demonstrations on time.
Mara hii tumetoa notice a week in advance. We gave the notice for tomorrow's actions more than a week in advance. What other reason do they have to proclaim tomorrow's actions as illegal?
Tulienda makao makuu ya polisi hapa Nairobi kwa Bwana Bungei, tukampa notice ya over 5 days ya kwamba siku ya kesho tutakuwa na maandamano ya amani hapa Nairobi na miji mingine ya Kenya.
Katiba ya Kenya ni ile tulipitisha 2010. Hata kama ulipinga, huna katiba yako, mumeandika na chama yako ya UDA. Mtafuata katiba ya Kenya kama Wakenya wote, kama sisi.
Last Monday, the police barred the coalition from participating in the demonstrations, with Nairobi Police Commander Adamson Bungei saying they had not met the requirements of the Public Order Act, which required that a person planning to picket inform the police at least 3 days prior. The leaders also dismissed sentiments by President William Ruto that his support for Raila landed him at The Hague.
Mimi nataka kukuambia wewe Ruto, ni wengi walimpigania kinara wetu na hawakupelekwa ICC. Wewe ulipelekwa kwa sababu ya vitendo yako wewe. Wacha kutaja baba. Wewe fikiria tena. Ufikirie na si wewe peke yako ulikuwa kwa ODM, mbona ukapelekwa peke yako? Wewe watu wanakujua wewe na unajijua wewe. Hata mimi siku hizo nilipigania Kibaki na sikupelekwa.
The president, while in Igori, said he faced dire consequences for his unwavering support of Odinga, arguing that he should be the one person that supports him instead of fighting his regime.
Wakati mambo iliharibika na Agwambo akawa prime minister, si mimi ndio nilipelekwa Hague.
Grace Nganga, KTN News, Nairobi.
And that's where we are now. Never no Nusu Mkate, as you can see there by the editor cartoonist Victor in the Star. Raila is still tooting his horn of the demonstrations and of course not drawing back, but never no Nusu Mkate. Quite telling. We took a short break and of course we were to hear from Wilson Susion.
Yes.
Maybe you want to change your mind now that you've had all this.
So all these objectives of the demonstration of the server, the IBC and the cost of living are mere scapegoats and excuses. They are other agenda. Because up to now, the promise of delivering a memorandum has not been done. Now, when you talk of the whistleblower, now you are relying on the whistleblower. Where are you putting your agents at the polling station? Where are you putting your agents at the constituency tallying center? Where are you putting your agents at the National Tallying Center? And the findings of the Supreme Court. So I don't think all this is very genuine. And the truth of the matter, Dibal, let us not hype the Article 37 with the exclusion of other provisions where rights of Kenyans and even the economy is being crippled so badly. Particularly, schools are not being attended, businesses will not open, and there will be no free movement of people.
Right.
And then you cannot use the ICC as a threat to stop the police. But when you go to the cost of living, allow me to address the cost of living. The cost of living did not rise after William Ruto was sworn in as the president. It was already worse during the reign of Uhuru Kenyatta. And therefore, if these Azimio are honest, then they should have led demonstrations against the government of Uhuru Kenyatta, if you are honest. And the facts that we are getting, in fact, from when you talk of subsidies, which Makali Mule has talked about, right now the 34 billion that was injected for food subsidy cannot be accounted for. And indeed, no food was seen in the shelf with reduced prices. At the exit of Uhuru Kenyatta, the price of unga was at 240, 250. And now it has dropped around 170, 180. And the market is stabilizing. So really, what you are telling us, you don't have facts on the absolute. So do you are trying to divert attention. The accounting for 34 billion for the subsidies this one must be, the Azimio cannot escape. It must be audited. The 16 billion that was withdrawn within 26 minutes, this must be accounted for. The 6 billion of purchase of Telecom Kenya, there are many, many, many economic atrocities that were committed. And in fact, the sponsor of this demonstration is not even Raila Odinga himself. It is Uhuru Kenyatta. That is a naked fact. This is an economic war. This is business war. And the general call, and you see, it is it's interesting when you see unionists, Akelo Misori, Atwali, and the rest, and unionists, they've distanced themselves from this agenda of the cost of living. When you bring up demonstration that is going to disrupt workers from going to work to earn their living, you are not helping.
Thank you.
And therefore, the agenda they have is misplaced. And data that we have seen is that over 70% of Kenyans are against this demonstration. And I'm telling Azimio, can you smell the coffee early enough? And even the churches. The churches, nobody should now push for any form of dialogue because there was no crisis at all. Nobody should push. And I think so it is that dialogue table that you're looking for.
So from your own estimation,
yes,
you're saying there should not be any dialogue.
You cannot blackmail a legitimate government in place that is trying to clear the mess that was created by another government to a political negotiating table. That is wrong. What we are seeing, the bad, is political blackmail. This is pure and poorly designed political blackmail against the government, and this should not work. And when you look at this cartoon, yes, I think you've removed it. That there will be no dialogue. There should be no dialogue. Let the church do its business. We respect their opinion. We respect the church. But from where my standpoint is that all this is not necessary. Can Azimio find another way of doing things? And they should not engage in
Thank you,
disrupting the lives of Kenyans.
So no, this is a line that has been drawn on the sand. No dialogue at all, no space for talks.
I hope the international community are, the other day you heard some people are trying to profile the likes of Raila. I hope that the international community is also watching the likes of Honorable Sosion.
Don't intimidate us on this talk
because when a country has a crisis like this is the kind
of crisis to force dialogue.
This is the.
Can you let him just have his head, please? Let it. Just give him space to talk.
Yeah. In fact, Deval, I want to read you a quote from somebody called Inibe Efiong. Inibehe Efyong. He says, if you are emotionally attached to your tribe or political leaning to the point that truth and justice becomes secondary consideration, your education is useless. Your exposure is useless. If you cannot reason beyond petty sentiments, you are a liability to mankind. Dibal, when we are talking about the cost of living, and we come to this show and trivialize the challenge and difficulty that is facing Kenyans, we are losing it. We are losing it. Because Dibal, with the increase of electricity tariffs by 68%, it means that a poor person in Nyamira, I don't want to talk about Bomet because it seems people in Bomet are rich, they are not affected, that's fine. Somebody in Nyamira who buys a token worth 500 ends up paying taxes, 260 shillings. The cost of the tariff is only 240 shillings. That's where we are. Last time, remember, Dibal, I spoke about fertilizer. And you remember, I think, one of the panelists, Gladys Sholay, telling us that I didn't know what I was talking about. Fertilizer had already been supplied to Nyamira. Fertilizer was only supplied to Nyamira last week, 3 days ahead of presidential visit. And the farmers have already planted, Dibal. When you tell us, Dibal, that we have not brought any motion, I think I heard that from Honorable Sigei. Dibal, if you read the paper here, you can see the concentration of this government. What is on the floor is a motion by the UDA administration to come up with a law that will give 1 billion shillings to the office of the First Lady. Yet the promise they made to Kenyans was that they would lower the cost of food, the cost of living, and that the government will be a government that will take care of the issues affecting Mama Mboga, Mwananchi, the boda guy, the lowly, who is who. Dibal, when you talk about dishonesty, just go to the standard and see. When you hear Sosion and Honorable Sigei here telling us about demonstrators that are causing mayhem, you need to go to what the DCI was trying to do, the propaganda. In yesterday's standard, you saw the photos that were being circulated are from scenes that happened in 2017. The other one was 2015. The other one was August 2022. But when Honorable Sission comes to this show, he wants to tell you that the people who took to the street to demonstrate last Monday were violent. That's where we are as a country, very dishonest. We're even at a level where the DCI, the head of DCI, I have never known a country that has sunk so low like Kenya, where the DCI comes to the media. Please,
can I finish?
Honorable Sigei, Honorable Sigei, Honorable Sigei,
We'll give you time.
Honorable Sigei, your time will come.
Yeah.
Please,
I'll give you.
Your time will come.
No. You'll get a chance to.
I will say the truth the way it is. And that is my oath of office. So, Dibal, when you see a DCI,
I'll give you a chance.
You know, look at the heading here. It's here. It says, detectives eat humble pie. The DCI has come out to apologize. Why can you protect me from this secret?
Okay.
Protect me.
All right, Association, just a moment.
Protect me.
Protect me. Okay, finish. Yeah. Finish your point.
Let them allow me to finish. In fact, my next point is touching on my chairman, Sigei. So, relax. But don't relax, my friend. Just relax. You relax.
No. Let him finish.
So, Dibal,
you'll give a chance to actually, have a rebuttal,
Dibal,
please.
That's not we want this. That's the worst way of running a country, Dibal. To the level that you can have a head of criminal investigation unit. If this was in America, if FBI did this, I tell you by now, this guy would have resigned. Take it to the bank. Because there are things that we don't expect to come from the crime buster, the head of the criminal investigations agency. But this is happening, and he's getting away with it, Dibal. You know, look, just hear the statement. If I had a case before a judge and I appear on a TV show like today, like Sosion, and you castigate the judge and you make pronouncement that that case before court is useless, that it is overtaken by event, you will be in jail for contempt. But because of the impunity culture we have, Honorable Sosion can appear on TV and talk and pass a judgment on a matter that is pending before court. Even if you read the power, the corridors of power, in fact, there is a CS who is saying, I'm worried. I don't know whether the court outcome will make me lose my seat, because it seems legally, caste position should only have been 23. Now we are 50. But Sosion here, because of this culture we are building, can come to the show and castigate a judge before a matter that is life before a judge. I mean, that's how impunity is now reigning in this country, Dibal. When my colleague Sige is talking about bills, part of the problem we have is because somebody is trying to micromanage Parliament. You know, one of the issues we have on the table is that bill of IEBC. And my colleague here is a lawyer, and I know he's professionally very honest. He's a distinguished lawyer. He brought a report to the floor, Dibal, that was giving room to the other coalition, Azimio, to participate in the selection of the panel that was to pick IEBC commissioners. And we congratulated him in the morning session. When we went for a break, pressure. He was put under pressure and told, what nonsense is that? We don't want Azimio to participate. Go and withdraw that report of the committee. And imagine a report that came from a discussion of a committee where public resources had been used to collect views from the public, was procedurally withdrawn from the floor. We never debated. Now, when you come here, you have a court that tells you, you go to court, they tell you it's hot here. You have a IG who tells you servers are not in the supermarkets. When you want to take a petition through a peaceful demonstration, you are told you will be jailed for life. Which provision of the law is the IG using? Which section? There is a lawyer here, a very senior lawyer, Sige. Can you tell us which provision says if you go to a demonstration, you will be jailed for life? That is impunity. And that is a culture of trying to tell us that we have overthrown our Kenyan constitution and that we can get away with anything and everything. Dibal, that is not the country I want. If the cost of living has skyrocketed, and for my people in Nyamira, I can tell you it has skyrocketed, Dibal. It has skyrocketed. Life is so hard, Dibal. You are talking about people going back to school, even for junior secondary. People are not able to buy a uniform, Dibal. And they are saying they were promised by the president in office now, His Excellency William Ruto, that once he put the Bible down like this, in 100 days, the cost of living could go down. Instead, they are telling us, Goro in my community there is 2 kilos of maize meal. It's going for 180 shillings. When you take it through the maize meal, it's another 20 shillings. They are spending 200. Yet before, they were spending 130 shillings. So life is unbearable. Sugar has gone up.
Thank you.
Yeah?
Right.
So Dibal, when we are saying that there are issues that call for us to sit and talk, it's because when you tell us that you're increasing tax by 67% to make power tariff expensive for Kenyans, and you don't want us to sit and discuss these things, the way Honorable Sosion is saying, there is no room for negotiation. It means you have no interest on the life and the suffering of Kenyans.
Thank you.
Dibal. Finally, Dibal, this country, Kenya, belongs to all of us. It's in the interest of us as leaders, Dibal, that a time comes, Dibal, where we must all put the interest of this country ahead of any other interest, Dibal. The issue of IBC, the selection of IBC commissioners, Dibal, if we are honest, intellectually and professionally, we are doing it the wrong way. And I know even Honorable Sige knows it, Honorable Sosion knows it. And that should be one of the issues that should be put on the table for discussion. To Dibal, the cost of living, the idea of having subsidy so that we bring down the cost of essential goods is something that you should put on the table for discussion. If you bring these kind of hardline positions to this show and tell us that we can never talk, then it means you don't have the interest of this country at heart. Dibal.
Thank you.
I rest my case.
All right, thank you. Let's hear from Sigay. First of all, a rejoinder to, I think you had something to, a rebuttal. Yeah. Then he raises a very important question regarding also the law, because we've had Professor, yes, on IBC. And the question also that I wanted to raise on Kindiki's regulation. Yes, that we need a new law. Okay. We need to come up with a new law, to push a new law for demonstrations. Why do we need a new law? Is it now that we, on the Public Order Act, will add something to it, on the Article 37 and Article 27 as well, and 37 is not sufficient?
24, yes, in terms of enjoy your right, but 24, not against the other people. Let me do, first of all, a rejoinder to what my senior colleague, Senator Morgan here, in the admission by the DCI when those photos were played out in the media. What we saw last Monday, the ball, is what made me feel like I needed to interrupt my colleague from saying there were no demonstrations, there were no destruction of property, there were no throwing of stones. As to a mix-up in the photos that went out and the actual thing that happened on Monday, we definitely cannot lie to the Kenyans who are all watching of what happened. And we should actually be congratulating the DCI for being a honest person by telling the public that, look, in the course of our placing on the media of the photos of the people whom we are looking out, we mixed up photos, and that is exactly what he said. So we can't castigate and say that he lied, he's incompetent, and he should have resigned when he is correcting a normal error, just like any other person. In fact, that is someone who is supposed to be applauded for being honest. Because
but we saw the IG really coming up and supporting this particular mix-up.
No.
He said, of course, those photos, even if they were taken in different times, those matters are alive.
I get you.
You
which
got
is
it.
True. Which is true.
Yeah, but that is purely out of context.
But he's saying, look, a crime is a crime. It doesn't matter the time that was committed. If it was a crime at that time, during demonstration, you throw stones and you injured someone or you destroyed someone's property. If it is a case that is live, it's live. But now you are saying,
I'm asking
the DCI is saying, we posted the wrong photos for the wrong story here.
Still for the IG, because I want to take you on that as well. If now you're in court and you want to tell me these photos are admissible for that particular matter, if it's for these demonstrations,
no,
it is not.
And that was a disclosure.
Yeah,
they have no relevance.
That's what I'm saying.
A disclosure on the part of the DCI.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. How can he go full steam ahead and defend that?
No. The wrong thing is, and where I have a problem is for senior counsel to say that he is castigating the DCI for admitting there was a mix-up on the photos. But the fact is, people throw stones, people destroyed people's property, and people committed certain crimes which they are being pursued for. And that is a fact. We wouldn't now lie to say that that was wrong. That is where I had a problem with. But that's to the relevance of the comments by the IG on the relevance of these photos before a matter in court. As he says, they have no relevance at all. They are not in context.
Thank you.
But the DCI was saying, look, guys, I made a mistake. This is not for this particular case, but for a previous case that was there. That is the only issue I had with the senior counsel on that one.
Okay.
But otherwise, there were demonstrations which were not peaceful. And that is why we are saying, let's not allow people to come and destroy people's property.
Do we need another law?
Number two, I'll come to the law later. Let me just deal with the story about the IEBC. One of the reasons why we amended on the floor of the House the provision requiring the Parliamentary Service Commission to give us one person to the selection panel was to protect the independence and the role of Parliament in sending out two people to the IEBC selection panel. That was a position that was informed by the desire to have Parliament as a representative of the people, both in the ruling coalition and the opposition at whatever given time, to participate. It is well justified, It was justified on the floor. It was agreed upon. When a proposition was made now to enhance an additional number to take away from the interreligious group, it was defeated on the floor of the House. And that is why the committee report was passed in the context of the proposal which I made after the need to bring into the parliamentary
So was there any undue pressure that was meted on you?
Not at all. I mean a committee report is a committee report. A committee report is a committee report. We sat as a committee and said, look, we are going to lose the role of parliament if we allow Parliamentary Service Commission to only send one instead of two. That was agreed upon. So there was no pressure. And as he's aware about, I mean, he's a former chair of JLAC, and it was during his tenure, by the way, that JLAC was robust and have picked up from where he left. He's guiding me. He's played a big role in the performance of JLAC, where I am currently chairing. Why? Because he's a good lawyer. He's objective. Sometimes he only does it beyond when it's a political platform. The mischief comes in, but he's a very, very good lawyer. He's a very objective. I mean, he's guided me. I mean, I must appreciate the guidance that he's given me. So, I mean, he understands. The good officers of Azimio comes to that is the problem. But not all the time also. But not all the time, because there are also times when he can actually, when we were fighting for Kongo Mogeni to be a commissioner in the IEBC, it was the Kenya Kwanza team and everyone in the House that was saying we want PSC. We all said we wanted an independent-minded, professionally sober, intellectually upright, and politically 60% neutral. That is him for you. And so when he says this one, I know he's saying it on the one with a pinch of salt because he knows what transpired in the House.
Thank you.
But then again, the biggest problem is now, why is it that the IEBC is becoming a problem all the time when somebody loses an election?
Okay.
That is the elephant in the House.
Yeah. I think
now,
on the issue
the proposal by Professor Kithure Kindiki on the regulations, that he's saying that we want to bring forth regulations to the Parliament. Remember, now it will be the role of Parliament to approve it or not. The delegated legislation, we have a committee in Parliament that does with the approval of such legislations. And he's saying we want to bring on board these regulations for purposes of one, having the leadership to any demonstration to take responsibility for whatever consequences of a demonstration. He's saying that this team that is leading a demonstration will have an obligation for a cleaner process after. If you end up, for example, destroying people's property, whose cost will that be? That is probably what we're looking at. But again, he's proposing that we need to also have some places. Remember earlier on, Okongo Mogeni said that the IG should even be able to draw the areas where these people can demonstrate, go to Uru Highway, Kenyatta Avenue, this point. Now, Professor Kindiki is saying that we are making this proposition to say there are certain areas that you probably don't need to go. Like if you want to demonstrate in a hospital environment, really, you can't be allowed to do that because you're making noise to patients and you're making it worse. Or if it's a protected area like the State House, if you're picketing, let's picket in peace. When we are given the example of people walking to White House with Bush were a murderer, you know, there is a whole difference. In Parliament, almost every 2-3 weeks, we are getting people demonstrating. The other day, the LGBTQ team came into Parliament and they demonstrated, and no one bothered with them. What we are trying to say is that even if these regulations will come before Parliament, the bottom line is, do we really have a society that would lead a demonstration that is peaceful and are beaten up? I'm very sure it will not happen. If a team that is demonstrating is a team that is peaceful, no one will. In fact, that is also what we want to do. We've done this before. We've done this before here in Kenya, in the previous parliament, in the previous government. There are some who've done it in the current government. So we are not saying that you should not demonstrate. Everybody has a right to do that. And that is what we've said. What I had earlier on said is that do it under Article 2037, but also give me that right also under 24D so that I also enjoy as you enjoy yours. Because we are equal.
Thank you.
The last comment, let me just say about off-the-cuff comments of the IG. I mean, there is no law that says you will be utafungwa milele. I mean, it's not there. So I believe that comment was one of those off the cuff. I mean, the way Raila would tell him, come for me, nikujie. I mean, it's the same thing. Only so, it's not a big deal. That's what I would say.
Right.
Yes, it's a big deal.
With the gravity of that matter, don't you think maybe it should be a structured speech, written speech,
Of course,
instead of
that
off the cuff?
definitely is the case.
Coming from IG.
Yes.
Yeah. So when you talk about Milele, when you talk about
Milele also in the context of
server kwa supermarket ilikuwa pale. Well, it's a bit of comic relief. Is you should tell us if the server was in the supermarket. But aside with that,
yes.
Okay, you wanted to finish.
Yes, I wanted to finish and say, it's also important sometimes to, let's not, Mandago says, tusiweke kitu kwa roho. Yes, let's put it off. So there is a reason why I'm saying it's one of those off-the-cuff comments. But I would actually propose that whenever you're making such national and very serious issues and addressing, it's very good to do a structured speech so that you do your speech and comment.
And you can be accountable actually afterwards. That's this is my written speech. I don't think I said anything.
Yes. But the unfortunate thing, Dibal, is the tone of the speech. Like I've listened to Mother Karua talking. I listened to Raila. Don't speak with a lot of bitterness. This is politics. You have lost. Accept and move on. When you see someone speaking with a lot of bitterness, issuing threats to the presidency, to the president, telling us the stories that we know with a lot of bile, it loses the meaning of it being a competition that you lost.
Thank you. Let's hear from Mokale Mulu. I just wanted to have this particular editorial cartoon because I think 67% of power tariff being raised right now and what is on the front page of the Business Daily, 2 billion shillings that we're talking about. This is bound also to take the gains that now we have from fertilizer, from all the good efforts that Kenya Kwanza has tried to put forward, because the cost of power is the cost of everything. Everything is predicated on the cost of power. How did we get ourselves to be here?
You know, about this issue of power is an issue actually which has been a problem in this country. And if you look at some of the investors who have left this country, one of the reasons they have given for leaving the country in terms of the regional investment environment is cost of power or cost of energy generally. And what that says is cost of energy is such a critical input into any production that anytime you want to think of changing that position, either you want to increase the cost, you must do a lot of analysis. And more so looking down at what are the trickle-down effects of that increase. And what we have realized is that as usual, this matter is being taken very casually.
Yes.
By the Kenya Kwanza government, very casually. Because of the committees we sit in Parliament, I'm sure my colleagues will agree, at times you have a lot of information, inside information, what is happening. And what is happening in Kenya, the problem is what we call the independent power producers. People who are producing power and are not, because of the cartels involved, are not allowing the KenGen, which actually produce the cheapest power in this country, to sell the power to the Kenyans. So the Bali will be surprised to find that KenGen has excess power, which they could easily be selling to Kenyans at a cheaper rate, but they can't sell because the so-called cartels of this country keep on coming together and making sure that they don't penetrate the market. And I remember at one point there was a talk about dealing away with the cartels. You remember the Kenya Kwanza government did promise that let them Kenyans deal with the other things, leave the cartels for the Kenya Kwanza government. You remember at one point that was said publicly. So to me, that's what I'm saying. When I listen to my friend, Honorable Sosiano, saying that they don't want to encourage discourse on some of these issues, that when people talk about dialogue, they only see the end product being a handshake. I get very concerned as a Kenyan, because I would imagine these are the things we are saying. Let's sit on a round table as Kenyans and say, how can we make the cost of energy come down so that we attract more private investors from within and without to invest in this country. Because once they invest, then we have the issue of creating more jobs, and Kenyans will be able to benefit. The reason why you see so many young people in the streets currently, anytime we call for these demonstrations, there are so many young people in the streets, and they are willing even to do an extra mile to be seen that they are there. It's because some of them have no jobs. So to me, any discussion should be creating an opportunity for them to be employed. It's a discussion which should be encouraged by all Kenyans.
Thank you.
The other thing we are suffering in Dibala, and it's important we also note this, is the issue of the monopoly. You know, we've discussed a lot about monopoly in terms of power generation. Kenya Power have been the only people who sell power to us, and they have monopolized the market to an extent that they're actually now controlling the prices. I think we also need to open this power sector, like we did with the communication sector, to other players, so that we have many people who come into this market and they're able to determine the prices. In that case, then we'll be helping the country. But all said and done, this increase is going to be very expensive to the country. You are likely to see many people losing jobs, because what is likely to happen, let me tell you, any serious investor will consider the cost of production, because that eats on their margin in terms of profits. And I'm telling you, any serious investor who is not a Kenyan has no business being in Kenya when he knows I can cross over to Tanzania, I can cross over to Rwanda, I can cross over to Uganda, and actually maximize my profits. So you can easily get what we call a capital flight. People going out of this country to invest in other countries, right? And that will be very expensive to this country.
I wanted to ask you, because I think on the floor of the House we had the women rep of Laikipia raising this particular question of the power tariffs and negotiations, the IPPG as well. She was very, very detailed on how these contracts were made and how we can actually redo it. Do you stand with what she was raising on the floor of the House, that maybe we need to have a negotiation council to renegotiate these particular contracts that we had?
No, you know,
because we don't know as a public. Yes, there was this particular report. I'm not privy to it. I've never seen it myself. That was given to President Uhuru Kenyatta, and I don't know what really happened. Have Kenya Kwanza picked up on this report to act on it, so that we can try and stem what is really happening right now? Can this be renegotiated? Is it really cast in stone? Because I don't believe any negotiations is like the laws of the needs and the passions that cannot be changed.
A very good question. But you know what is happening in Dibala is, if you look at that was just a motion in the House. And the challenge with the motions are just people who talk and talk, at the end of the day, make resolutions which are hardly implemented. But to me, forget about even the motion. The committee, our own committee on energy, I saw these details. I'm telling you, as we are seated here at Dibala, I'm sure the Kenya Kwanza government, up to the highest level, is fully briefed about this matter. But what is happening is, the key players in this sector are the same people sitting in these senior offices in government, who should be, you know, it's like I'm telling you, reduce your cake, and it's your own cake. So you defend that position very hard. And I can tell you, I think it's time has come when we must separate really. My belief is one: if you are a senior government official holding an executive position, please, you should not be doing any business with the government. That's what is killing our economy. That's most of this huge businesses you see here. And that's why you see, you have started hearing the statement, doing budgets for individuals.
You're speaking in parables, and I think you're actually having something that you want to tell us, but you're not telling us.
You know the bar.
You're being caged with some information. Or it's for the wise to decipher this.
This being a national television, you can't go to an extent of naming individuals.
No, not really naming.
But the thing is, when you are in Parliament, where as member of Parliament, allow me when I'm in the floor of the House.
You're protected.
Yeah, because I know. but what we are saying is about this is not a secret. It is known. You know, Kenyans are intelligent.
So they are vested interests.
So there are a lot of vested interests in this sector. And I think if really Kenya Kwanza government wants to help this country, let them. This is the time to do what they promise, that we are going to do with these cartels. Let us see them demolishing these cartels, and then we will see most of these things working normally. The other thing about which is important, I think it's important to pick it. You know, anytime we sit here and we talk, at times people would tag us as Asimio, as Kenya Kwanza, but to me I think there are things of public interest, which as leaders in this country, we must address them. For example, when we talk about what is happening outside Nairobi, you go to Ukambani, you go to Nyamala, you go to Northeastern, Dibala in a situation where we have a government which is not able to release resources for the governors to go and implement projects at the rural area. What are we saying? If you do a proper analysis of what is happening, it is devolution which is helping most of our mothers down there get a small tender somewhere, be able to do a business and grow their economy. Now, when governors are also crying all over, you have read the papers everywhere. They are saying they are summoning the PS, like now the Senate committee is summoning the PS Treasury to explain why you cannot release money to the county governments. But at the same time, the issue of the cash, you see, we were supposed to have recruited 23, we have done 50. So you are telling Kenyans we don't have money, but in reality the way you are behaving is like you say I'm poor, but when people see you driving Porsche cars in town and they see you driving the most expensive shirt in town, and you say I'm poor. So we are saying we must get our priorities right. Please, as a country, for us to grow this country, let's get our priorities right. And anything which focuses more on the public interest, touching on the common mwananchi, we'll give that first priority. Things which touch on leaders can come the second priority. Thank you. But as I conclude in the bar, I can't fail to say this. I think my colleague, Honorable Sosion, did say that they inherited an economy which was battered by the Jubilee regime. Azimio has never been in government. Azimio has always been in the minority, the opposition. So what we are saying is, Dibao, all of us, when we were campaigning, when Azimio was campaigning and Kenya Council was campaigning, each one of us must have sat and looked at the economy, state of the economy at that point, and discovered that these areas were doing well, these areas were not doing well. And actually that's why some of us were able to convince Kenyans to vote for either government so that they're able to address those issues. So it is very unfortunate that now when you take that chance and you are now governing, you start reminding Kenyans that the economy was battered. We knew it was battered. We knew this issue was there. Now you have the chance. Correct the situation and move forward. I want people to look at this idea of rear mirror every time, and the association is very good at that. Rear mirror will not take you anywhere. Will never take you anywhere. Let's move this economy to the future.
So we're remaining with 5 minutes so that we can actually distribute this time fairly. Please, just
with the views of
just take
Makalimuli,
at least 1.5 minutes.
Be fair to me. You've allowed them.
No. Everyone has gone in their own circle. So we're beginning with you.
Very quickly, Debal. Beginning with Okongo Mugeni, you cannot impose the Azimio manifesto on Kenya Kwanza. We have Kenya Kwanza plan, we shall stick to that. So you cannot seek to try and amend the economic plan which was voted for by Kenyans for the next 5 years by trying to impose, by bringing in narratives of huge cost of living. Cost of living is not a switch on and switch off affair. It does take time to do that. Number two, Azimio should get out of the street and use other legitimate avenues to advance their issues. There are platforms in Parliament, the Senate and the National Assembly. Use it and any other forum. But sabotaging the economies, stopping school children, blocking roads, bonfires, invading supermarkets, and paralyzing transport is not a way of bringing down the cost of living. We've seen leaders on the Azimio side, even member of Parliament of Bondo. You should know Bondo is the home of the leader of Azimio. And even Langata, Chalango and Ojanda, they're speaking now a different language. And this is a direction that really this country needs to take. And then when you come to the power tariffs, Debal, I think it's good we get facts. We don't pick issues from just a media splash and we pick a negative narrative. Looking at what is in the nation here, the interest said Kenyans will from next week be able to buy electricity in bulk from Kenya Power at discounted prices and resell it to other customers at a profit in a move that is aimed at enhancing power supply in the industry. And when you look at the table of the matrices, in this reform process, in the first category of domestic users, the new rates will be at 21.16, down from 21.99. It is a reduction of negative 4%, and that is going to affect 6.3 million learners. I think 6.3 million consumers. And I think this is something that we need to understand more deeply rather than taking it from the face value. When you look at small-scale consumers, negative 4%, commercial and industrial, quite a number of them. So really, in terms of matriculating and reorganizing the power sector to bring down the cost of electricity. This is being done, and I agree.
Thank you.
Cartels must be kicked
Sosion, thank you.
out of the economy, including the cartels who are sponsoring this demonstration.
Thank you.
These are the big cartels
Thank you,
in
thank
town.
you. I have to bat in.
I should ask
Sosion,
Omogeni
Sosion,
and,
thank you.
and Makali.
Thank you. Let me get a headline thoughts
Stop
from...
coming to
Thank
the
you,
show
Sosion.
to defend the cause
Thank you. Okongo Omogeni, your 20 seconds.
I hope the president is now done with rewarding his friends. We have, for the last 6 months, it has been about taking care of his friends while Kenyans are suffering. I hope we have now had the last. I hope Sosion and 49 friends who have been appointed. CAS is the last of, we are now seeing top down. We now want him to turn around and address the suffering of Kenyans. Dibal today's nation, it has 9 pages of people's properties being auctioned because they are not able to service loans.
Thank you.
So people are suffering, Dibal. This idea of us taxing Kenyans 52% on the consumption of power is wrong. The government should do something about it. And I want to urge my friend Kindiki to go very slow on taking away the fundamental freedoms and rights of Kenyans.
Thank you.
When you want to touch the Bill of Rights,
let's leave it at that.
If he wants to touch the Bill of Rights, Dibal, let him bring a law. We go to the referendum, amend Article 37. He cannot do it through regulations.
Thank you.
We will not accept it.
Thank you. Hilary Sige, 20 seconds.
Thank you very much, Dibal. Just to buttress what the rest of my colleagues have said, it is time we focus our energies in the right place. It's time we let the opposition know that we actually need a strong opposition. But a strong opposition is not an opposition that wakes up every morning to demonstrate. It is an opposition that checks the excesses of power by the government of the day. And that is all we need of the opposition as at now. Number 2, let's take our energy elsewhere. We're talking about a high cost of living, which everyone else is saying it is. But then the energies are being diverted elsewhere. Let us refocus. Let us redefine the direction we are taking. And that is exactly what the president is doing.
Thank you.
Let's deal with the floods. We've been having drought, 2 days, 3 weeks rain. It becomes a problem. Let us focus there. And if we were only to get there, Kenya will progress.
Thank you.
And the agenda of Kenya Kwanza will achieve its intentions.
Thank you.
If we have that focus.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Wakali Mulu, briefly, yes.
A straight shot to the IG, who is a friend of mine. Actually, we did a lot of work with him when we were doing the policy reforms. And he knows what I'm talking about. Let him provide conducive environment for demonstrators. Let him provide security. And people can say what they want and go home. Yes. That case, he will be helping this country.
Thank you. Thank you. Gentlemen, I really do appreciate. So I don't want to go deeper into it because of time as well. But I want us just to wind up with this editorial cartoon that we have today in the Star. And yes, we can be also sitting back to watch what will be happening on the next episode of Maandamano, which is live every Monday and Thursday, according to Ozone there. So we can see Raila Odinga and, of course, the CS Interior and the IG himself and the Deputy President as well. The president is coming from Germany. He'll be arriving from Germany. He's in Germany right now. But thank you, gentlemen. I really do appreciate your input. Let's see how this turn out. We hope also there will be negotiations and talks, which you're startly denying from the Kenya Kwanza. They're saying, no, we don't want any talks. But what will break this stalemate? We're here to see. Thank you for your valid company. You've been watching Standpoint. Don't go away. Much more coming up.